I bought a laptop from this brand before. This is the LHMZNIY, or whatever is the pronunciation of the brand, A9. I previously bought the A8 and I was incredibly pleased with the price to performance of the machine. So looking for a cheap laptop, that's the one that I went for. I'm thinking, let's unbox it together, let's put a couple of programs on and we run a few tests. So to begin with, we have a simple but straightforward box. Basic information over there about the product. Okay, the laptop is very well protected. A little manual with a few information about the machine and the ports. Actually a universal adapter to British plug. And in here we have the charger for the machine. Don't know if you can see, guys, it's a 19 volt 2500 milliampere hours adapter. Very straightforward. There is the connector, and of course we can then convert it to a British plug nice and easily. This is metal body, so front and back are all in metal. Port wise, we have a TF card, headphone, USB type 3, and on the other side a further USB, HD port, and that's the connector for the adapter. I really like already how it feels. Not too sure what is hidden in there, if it's the SSD or whatever. We'll dive into it maybe later. Speakers are at the bottom, and actually I quite like the fact that they are on the front, because as you can see from the design, it is curved, so some of the sound will probably bounce off the surface and should not be too bad. With regards to the design, so tilting, this is at the maximum. It's not too bad. Potentially I would have preferred it a tiny bit more. Camera is in a very interesting position. I just noticed one amazing thing about this camera. You have a privacy filter over there, and that is actually very, very handy. Most of the time computers of this price do not have that, so you can actually fully close the camera to add extra privacy. With regards of build quality, this is actually very sturdy for the price. So there is very little flex. Again, even the keyboard seems to be pretty good. There is a decent travel of the keys, and in the meantime, very minimum flex. The trackpad is nice and big. I can feel a bit of a clickiness, which is good. So you do have a bit of a tactile feeling. And with regards to the keys, they are practically silent. There is very, very little noise, which is actually quite nice. The screen, as you can see, is sticking out a tiny bit. The bezel sticks out a tiny bit, but it's not exactly an issue at all. Build quality looks brilliant. Bezel also are pretty small. Before proceeding further, I would like to point out a couple of things. So the little cover there, just held by a couple of little screws, hides the SSD. That is a 256 gigabyte SSD. It does use a solid chip. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's a really good sign of quality. And the other brilliant thing is then you can replace it with something even bigger, and it does support different sizes of SSD. And this is one of the reasons why I love this brand, because everything that they do does actually feel good and it makes perfect sense. Same with regards to the HDMI port. A lot of laptops of this price will use a mini HDMI, when this is a full port. This is a full HDMI port, which is fine, and it's actually brilliant, because then you can use very different type of devices, normal dongles or whatever else to plug in, without running into issues of using a mini HDMI port, which are also a bit more fragile. So once again, I'm very pleased with the choices that this brand makes.
I've been using the machine for over 24 hours now. A few considerations. As soon as I turned it on, this is what I was presented to. Apart from, of course, some of the benchmark software that I installed, but I went straight into Windows. I didn't need to do any configuration. Of course, then it's possible to configure it just by going to the control panel and putting your own details on it. With regards of the machine itself, the screen is a TF panel, so viewing angles are not fantastic, but when you're in front of it, it does look very sharp. It's a 1920 by 1080 screen, so it does look nice, reasonably bright, responsive, sharp. I cannot fault it actually that much. With regards to brightness, at the moment we are at full brightness. Of course you can go as low as you want to. The brightness is fine. You might have a problem if you are using it in very bright sunshine, but otherwise it's not a problem at all. And again, even if I said that the viewing angles are not brilliant, they are not that bad either, in fairness. One thing you need to consider, because of course the backing is metal, it does have a bit of weight. So I actually understand why they went for this maximum tilt, because if you tilt it any further, of course the machine itself will be a bit unbalanced. Trackpad is fantastic. The keyboard I really like. One feature is, of course, you can turn on some of the brightness of the keyboard. At the moment we got a light switched on, so you might not be able to watch it, to see it much, but during the evening time, during the night, is actually quite a nice feature. It's not as bright as some of the top of the range machine, but it is a nice feature. And I really like also the tactile feeling of the keys. It does have quite a decent spring, and also they are very well balanced, so there is no much of movement of the keys, so it is quite precise. I mentioned before the camera. It is nice to have a little cover. In all honesty, the camera itself, it is, well, I would call it nearly abominable. We'll have a look in a second, but as you can see, I mean, it's not dreadful. It is on the pair of some of the others that I've seen in the past. Of course, the viewing angle, because it's from the bottom, might not be the most flattering, and there is quite a bit of lag. But you know, for this type of cameras, is it's the same as most of these budget PCs. So, as you notice, the machine is also very silent at the moment. One of the reviewers online, I noticed that he was talking about the fan being very noisy. Now, personally, I never had that issue. Sure, when the machine is pushed very hard, you can hear the fan. I do not deny that at all. But those scenarios are actually very rare. What I'm going to do now is opening Prime 95. That will push the CPU to the maximum speed. I will open also the timer as well, so you will see for how long it will run before it makes any noise, and then you will judge how noisy or not the machine is. Keep an eye on the temperature. CPU at the moment is fully pushed. So guys, we've been running for about 4 minutes now. You can see that the CPU has been roughly at 100% the whole time. The CPU is actually starting to stabilize at that temperature. Still no fan noise whatsoever. And this is quite an unrealistic test, because there are very few applications that will push the machine so hard. I've now opened also PC Mark. As you can see, I still have a few things open at the same time, so once again, hopefully we are pushing the machine as much as possible. I'm still desperate to get you to hear the fan. It's not happening at the moment. This seems to be dissipating heat very well. Okay, I finally noticed that the fan has kicked in. I don't know if you can hear it. Let me move the computer a bit closer. Again, it is audible, barely, I feel, and it's not intrusive. And once again, it just starts when the computer is incredibly pushed. At the moment we are running synthetic benchmark, so it is testing the CPU, it's testing the graphic card to the limits. Touching the computer also, I can feel that the CPU is roughly in this area. The keyboard is, you know, mildly warm. So onto the test results, and yeah, I mean, it is comparable with this type of processor. As I said, if you're expecting to do multitasking, if you're expecting to do graphics or video editing with this machine, just go somewhere else. It's got a lot of RAM, but the processor is not capable to do something like that, or at least it will be capable but incredibly slowly. This is mostly for single tasks or basic tasks like, as I said, writing emails, checking the internet, checking videos, writing letters, going online. So for something like that, it is very nice, very snappy, works very, very well. I want to run a further test, which is actually a game. So let's run Asphalt 9. It is a quite graphically demanding game, one of the best games that you can get on the Play Store from Microsoft. As you can see, we are running it at full resolution, so 1920 by 1080, anti-aliasing on, medium setting with regards to the graphic, and you will see that it's actually playing very, very smoothly. Already moving around works very, very well, and let's do one race, where of course I will be absolutely terrible at it, but at least you can see how well the game plays. Further testing we can do is actually to play a 4K video. This should both push the CPU, the graphic chip, and also show you both the screen and the quality of the speakers. So what I will do, I'll let it play. Hopefully we will get the fan kicking in as well. You can probably see the screen. Speakers, they are quite loud. Quality wise, they are not too bad. I've heard far worse than that. Let me see if I can. Yeah, let me turn it down a tiny bit. So personally, I actually feel that the speakers are okay. Sure, the bass is not very strong, but even when they are pushed to the maximum level, they don't sound bad at all. The screen, you can probably see, is very sharp. At the moment, as I said, it's playing at 4K, or anyway, the maximum resolution that is permitted by the screen. And yeah, the picture is very good. And so guys, even for something like gaming, light gaming of course, something that is not overly demanding, something that is not a AAA gaming, it works absolutely fine. As you can see, we still have a lot of things open, it works well, it's responsive. A few things, as I said, the keyboard is very good, trackpad, fantastic, the build quality, I really like it. It is also quite light. I do like the design feature with regards of the ease to change the SSD. If I need to criticize anything, I would say the panel is good, but it's not an IPS panel, so the viewing angles are not fantastic, but it works alright for what I need to. The choice of the processor, it depends what you need to do. Personally, I quite like it because it makes applications snappier. It's a new processor, so for everything that I need, it works pretty good, pretty quickly. But if you're using it for multitasking, so if you are one of those people that tend to open a lot of things together all at the same time, or you want to do something with graphics or videos, this potentially is not the best choice. The amount of RAM is plenty, and I like the fact that it's configuring dual channels, so it maximizes the power of the processor. If I need to nitpick, I have to say the power adapter is very good because the cable is 1.5 meters long, so there is plenty of length. I'm not a big fan of the connector itself. I think it's potentially an Asian type of connector, Hong Kong or whatever, China. So they do provide an adapter. The only thing is that you need to be careful because when you plug it in, the weight of the adapter sometimes can make it pop out a bit, so it could become a bit dangerous. However, if you're careful, not an issue at all. And actually the batteries are very good on this machine. I mean, I noticed then even using it, you know, continuously with an average type of use and quite high brightness, in fairness, I got about 5.5, 6 hours, no problem whatsoever, which I feel then is very respectable for this type of machine. So overall, I'm actually impressed with it. I feel then there are some features then are used for more expensive laptops, like the metal build quality, the camera cover, the lighting of the keyboard. And yeah, I mean, personally, for the price, I feel then this brand has done another amazing job. One thing that I noticed, and in fairness, I had the same thing with my previous machine from this brand. I don't know why, but the logo is never exactly in the center. As you can probably notice, it's more on one side than the other. It's not something that is easy to spot sometimes, but if you pay attention, yeah, it's not exactly in the center. But it is exactly nitpicking on that, and I really like this machine, guys. So, see you at the next one. If you like the review, please thumbs up and subscribe. It will really make me happy. Take care, guys. See you soon.